Interest rates, will they make a difference to the Halifax market if they just drop periodically? Matt, what do you think? Do you think the interest rates, it's only been going down a couple of points here and there. Do you find it making a big difference in our market?
I wouldn't say yet. No, I was really interested to see whether they were going to go a half point on this last meeting, and they decided to go with the quarter point again, which seems to be kind of almost a nominal move, right? You're just kind of appeasing people with what you're expecting there, rather than actually making a move that you think will infuse some energy into the various markets.
My thoughts is that when I look at, I would have sent you the stats the other day, when I look at what's selling under 600, that's almost 50% of the market or more is selling under 6. So I don't think the interest rates have really affected the first-time home buyer or that person, let's say, is moving from a semi to a single-family home. Like, what are your thoughts?
Totally. As I think about the dynamics of the market, there are people who are making the decision between paying rent, which you and I both know has gone up tremendously over the last few years, if you can find a rental, or make the investment in your first home, right? And making that investment in the first home to avoid paying it all to your landlord is still a good investment, even at 6%. As you and I sit in our homes and think about whether or not we want to make a move right now, my family and I are comfortable in the size of our home. We can wait. And so I'm likely going to wait until it's a better interest rate environment, right? Which is why I don't think interest rates necessarily affect the first-time buyer, because it's still a great decision to buy a home always if your option is rent. But for the move-up crowd, it does make sense to sit and wait a little bit to make sure that your rate is where you want it and your payment's going to be where you want it. And I'm not under a lot of pressure to move in that respect.
Absolutely. Would you suggest that anybody who is buying now, even if it's a first-time buyer, to have a variable rate like an open mortgage?
Yeah, certainly as we talk to people who are doing purchases right now, or even as we're doing some of our own purchases on the investment side, we're either doing a variable or we're doing a shorter term than we typically would. I'm your classic 5-year fixed mortgage rate guy, but as of late I've been taking 2-year terms, even though the rate might be slightly higher. I just know that when I go to renew in 2 years, that I'm going to get a better opportunity than if I'd stayed at the 5-year rate that we have today. So yeah, certainly variable and shorter term mortgages are way more attractive right now to me.
Yeah. So would you say, if you look at the $1 million homes that, typically have been selling, and that would, help with the average price point, and our average price point hasn't been that much different since last year, and that could be because of, what product is selling. Would you say that those sellers and buyers are more trepidatious because of the mortgage rates?
Yeah, I think you just have to be a little bit patient if you're a seller there, right? Because there are still people who are actively looking in that market. It's just, again, they're trying to potentially time the market. Now, that's a bit of a risky game as well, if you're trying to time interest rates, because everyone's trying to do the same thing. So as rates drop, you're going to have more competition for those listings. It's going to be pushing the price up slightly as well. It tends to be that as rates drop, prices go up in the housing market, right?
Yeah.
And so, it is a careful balance that people have to play there. But right now, you're right, sellers have to be a little bit more patient because there's just not as many people willing to pull the trigger.
But why do you think that, if you look at back in 2016, we had 6,000 listings year to date, and then this time we have, what's our number? The stats that I had pulled, we have, only 3,800. So back then, our mortgage rate in 2016 was 3.67, and now it's 6.331. But there's still similar amount of homes that were sold, like 3,000 then and like about 2,800 now. But the inventory was double. So what do you think that was?
So I think there's a couple of things at play here. The first one is that if you look back at 2016, that was maybe the second year where we really started to see population tick up. And before we got started here, we were talking about population change. And so we're seeing new Nova Scotians come to the province, and you're starting to see that population really ramp up, thanks largely in part to some efforts by the province to make that happen in the municipality and the HRM here. The other thing is, as we went through 2021 and 22 during COVID, there was a huge number of transactions that happened, right?
Yep.
And to a certain degree, you almost make the argument that everyone who wanted to buy bought during that flurry, and now it's slowed down a little bit again, and it's only the people who need to buy or sell who are doing deals, right? And so, we're just kind of evening out. We got it all jammed into 2 years. We got 4 years worth of sales jammed into 2 years, and now these 2 years are evening that back out, right? And I think there's an element of that going on too.
Full sense.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. I always love getting together with you just to go over the market because it's interesting times for sure.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, and it's great to see. I think this too, as we get into these kind of markets that are a little more challenging, the cream really rises to the top, and so it's nice to see you and your group doing well. But it's to be expected because you're
Lots of hard work.
It's a professionals market right now for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for today.